Yeah, dog. Thomas G here. Welcome to Wreck to Riches. I'm Thomas G. Welcome to the channel. Don't forget to pound the like button, drop a comment, and always remember I'm not a financial advisor, for damn sure not a professional. This is cryptocurrency. You could get wrecked, so this is for pure entertainment purposes only. My point of view and my opinions, and never ever allow an influencer on any social media platform out there in the entire space to influence you when it comes to crypto. Gotta research, guys. You could get wrecked. Speaking of wrecked, well, to be fair, we're going to talk about title of the video, Titanx, is this project dead? And we're going to hit on a few key topics here, because there are still maxis, but like I predicted, my predictions go in a sequence of events. DragonX came. I said DragonX will be the death of Titanx. The stakers felt like they were stolen from. I will always feel that way. Will always be bitter until Shogun comes and I can get out of mistakes and Jake makes things right with what he did to. And listen, guys, it's not about my bags, okay? I'm posting my miners today and yesterday, the ones that are wrecked. I already made enough money in Titanx to make my initial back to 2-3x my money, plus go and buy other tokens, reinvest into Titanx. So my reinvestment is wrecked, but I took profits elsewhere. I didn't keep it all into the system. That's my story. The people that were late are wrecked, and I feel for them. So when I was complaining and talking about DragonX, I was looking after the little guys. So I said DragonX was the end of the platform. Like people say, the math. Do you know the math and the code? Well, if you know simple math, and you saw the projection and the trajectory of miners being created and what DragonX was going to bring to the table, only if people kept bringing miners, creating miners to feed the system, then, things would work out if it was continuing to have that momentum. But with the momentum dying, I saw the end. A centralized entity came in, took over the staking, took from the newer investors. The early investors got away with profits. Everybody else that came in late, wrecked. Okay? In addition to that, I had mentioned max pain because of this, meaning where we're at today, today's prices. I said these exact prices. Actually, I said it could even go lower, add another zero, which I expect. I talked about hyper due to the fact that ROI on miners and the bitterness in people's mouth for the DragonX scenario, that people were not going to invest in hyper and participate, including myself. That's happening. All right. I called all this stuff from the very beginning. Not the FUD, but just seeing things unfold in an investment that started to go south. I had high hopes. I fed into the buy and burn. And let me tell you something about the buy and burn. No new miners are being created. Nothing's feeding the buy and burn on the Titanx platform. Things are a little bit different on Hyper, but it's not happening at the magnitude that Titanx had early on. So the buy and burn for DragonX, non-existent. The buy and burn on Titanx, which is V1 and V2. V2 is, draining little by little. Everyone argues we have $30 million, and that's enough money to soak up all the supply and this and that. The buy and burn can only do so much. Titanx is a hyper inflationary token. People are excited for it to go hyper deflationary. It is hyper deflationary right now. The community is hyper deflationary. People are jumping ship. People are angry. Now, why is that not good? Because you need, no matter how much money is in the buy and burn, you need buyer demand. In order for this to play out, buyer demand has to be there when it gets to the end of the road, when the supply shock happens, when the buy and burn is soaking up most of the supply and future supply and whatnot. That has to be there. Prime example, Richard Hart dumped millions of sacrifice funds into pumping Ink, PulseX, and Hex, PHEX. Millions of dollars. PulseX, after Pulse was pumped to sack price, was damn near there at 3.3 zeros and a 1. The investors dumped it back down to where it's at today. 4 zeros and a 5. Cut it in half. 50%, just about. And that's with millions of dollars that are still left on the table. Hundreds of millions still left on the table. And if Richard Hart went and put $100 million right now on any given token on this platform, there would be enough buy pressure to bring it right back down. So when the time comes at the buy and burn, which right now is being stretched out on V2, there's not going to be the amount that's there now unless he shuts it off and waits for later, which the price will continue to go down even more. The price is going to continue to go down. The buy and burn is going to be buying and burning from prices way below this point. We can drop another 50 to 90% from this point. And then we're going to be using millions of dollars just to get back to this price where people are still wrecked on their investment because there's no buyer demand to add to the buy and burn. You need buyer demand. People are angry. Nobody wants to reinvest in miners. Nobody wants to buy Titanx. The buy and burn is the only mechanic that is buying the token and it's still dipping on a daily basis. Hyper is an identical sister project to this that's having the exact same beginning and will have the exact same end, except it's going to end in this fashion quicker because there is no momentum. You know, fool me once, fool me twice, you know. This time it's 3 times because Helios already had came out and we're seeing the same thing happen with Helios. It's identical to the type of platform that Titanx is. So 3rd time's a charm with Hyper. Hyper is not doing what people thought it was going to do. This is where all the FUD is coming from, and the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's not people like me that are pointing it out. It's the numbers. It is the math. Because everyone's saying the math. I want one person to come on YouTube, on screen, and do the math that you're talking about and explain to me how zero buyer pressure from people on a large scale is going to come towards the end when people are this down on their miners. Right now, people want to exit with as much money as they can at a loss and go elsewhere because there's a bull market going on and they are missing it. If we held their Ethereum, we would be up right now, except we used Ethereum to mine Titanx. Early short-term miners were the only thing that profited. Everything after, since February and on, it's just been a nightmare, only if you got in, at the beginning. So the $30 million is a drop in the bucket. And without buyer demand and that new buyer capital coming in, it's going to be worse than when Richard Hart pumped PulseX to 0.3 zeros and a 1, and it's where it's at today. It's going to be on a much quicker scale time frame as far as when it's utilized, and because it's going to continue to be hyperinflationary during this period for a while to come, it's going to be a tragic ending. If Jake doesn't create Shogun, I don't want to hear about no Omni chain. I don't want to hear about Titan Blaze. Make things right with the stakers and the people that got wrecked going in late, whether they're a big fish or not. Again, I made my money. It's not about me. It's not about me. Make right with those people, and maybe you will have them come back and generate new buyer demand when you need it the most. But $30 million, I don't care how hyper deflationary your token is. I have been in many projects that burned 95% of their supply. 95% of their supply, and then had no buying volume. It was all seller volume. They're not even here today. And it doesn't matter that you have all that in buy and burn. You're going to be buying and burning tokens that is 50 to 90% lower of the prices today. Because what's going to happen when hyper dips another 50 to 90%? People are going to start exiting. Everyone is going to start leaving Titanx. Because you're seeing what happened in Titanx as far as the ROI on the miners happen quicker with hyper. Now people are feeling like, man, I got twice. And that's the truth. So what could fix this? Shogun, then do your Omni. But you have to get the people that were in early back on board and willing to buy when the time is right later down the road, or else you're going to be just throwing $30 million like Richard Hart just threw millions of dollars. He pumped ink from 47 cents to $9. He doubled the price in all of the assets on Pulse Chain, and they're back to square one. And these tokens aren't even hyper-deflationary on the level of Titanx. So that $30 million is nothing. If you had $200 million in buy and burn, I would still be worried. People think that if you burn all of the supply, the price is going to go up. People are going to sell into that $30 million, which is not a lot. Imagine $1 million per day, $30 million in volume, $1 million per day. Sell pressure versus the buy pressure. The math is simple. It doesn't add up, and it will not work. Because now you have people that are exiting from another system hyper. People are selling from Helios. They're going to sell Helios for Titanx, sell Titanx to get out completely, sell hyper for Titanx, sell Titanx for ETH to chase the bull market when Ethereum's going up. We're claiming on a loss. We're paying expensive gas fees to claim and to sell. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. All because they wanted a centralized entity to take over staking and screw over so many people. And I called it. And it's unfortunate that it continues to happen exactly the way I see it. So what is my prediction from this point on? Is Titanx dead? It's going to sure look like it. And it's going to take, I've already told you the recipe. In order for it to not die, you, me, everyone else that was super bullish at the beginning, like 90% of these people need to come back to reinvest and buy, because it doesn't make sense to make miners and make sense to buy tokens. No one's earning off a T rank because no one's making miners. There is no more T rank bonus. Everyone has to see ROI go back up, get a little bit of their losses back, and then the degen and some of them may reinvest. If not, you're going to see the money drain out like it did thus far. As much ETH as we had, where it's at now, you're going to see that all gone, and you're going to be left with a supply that's small, with nobody who wants to buy it, and it's going to be a suppressed asset like silver. Like silver. I'm telling you, man, silver is more important in this world than gold. We use it across the industry to build computers and everything else, and it's $20 an ounce. We use it way more than we'll ever use gold. And the supply is going down as far as what you can mine, and it's suppressed to this price. People aren't buying it like they buy gold. Shiny object is gold. But I've seen projects fail with these types of tokenomics, and they've had this type of buying power on the side. I've seen stuff like this before. The difference was, and what we were sold on and what I was sold on, was Hyper and Shogun. It was never to bring in a DragonX and to do what they did. And I think it's something that Jake has to address, man up, and be like, that was a mistake. If he came out and said, that was a mistake, my bad, I can move on and be like, well, what do you got next? How are you going to make it right? Then we can work together. Then we can build together. But at this point, it's like denial. Your fault. Oh, there's a secret. There's a secret in the code that no one could see. Like, get what? It's basic math, bro. No one's buying. The buy and burn's the only buyer outside of a few people. Do something, devs. Till next time, yeah, dog.